your autistic son? I don't know how this can be made good. What? What? Vixie, do you know how this can be made good? I don't think so. Happy apple picking day! Vixie's been very clingy lately, but I'm sure you guys don't mind. Before we get started, a couple reminders for our friends. If you want to transfer your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And just a reminder, we all come from different branches of the apple tree. And what that means is we've all lived different lives and we've all had different experiences. And those experiences are going to shape our opinions and our perspectives on things. The way we might read a story might be completely different from each other. And it's just based on how we hear things, how we internalize the tones. And that's normal. That's human behavior. Which is why we talk about what we think down in the comments. Because I might have a perspective that you guys might not have, and you guys might have a perspective I don't have. You guys could teach each other things. That's the beauty of this community. We practice constructive conversations. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking! Apple number 1. Vixie, I can't reach my computer, my love. Oh my goodness. Hi. Oh gosh, help me. Oh, thank you for the kisses. Am I the bad apple for laughing at my husband getting in trouble at work? I, 35 female, decided to order takeout for my family and extended family. We were having extended family and friends over, so I ordered Mexican food for everyone, and when it arrived, my son Jackson, 8 male, decided to make a joke about the driver being Mexican and the food being Mexican. He even told the driver in front of our family to go back home. Everyone started laughing, except me and the driver. I paid and I apologized profusely, later telling everyone that it wasn't funny and that we should punish my son. Everyone just said that I was overreacting because it was just a joke. And even my husband said that it was so funny, he was gonna tell his boss about it the next day. I said, all right, well, don't come crying to me when you don't get the reaction you want. Well, today, my husband comes home devastated. And when everyone asks what happened, my husband said that apparently he told his boss the joke, who just so happens to come from Mexican descent, and his boss was very angry and offended, as he should have been. Now his boss is taking away the promotion my husband was supposed to get and is not getting the pay increase that was gonna come with it either. I won't lie, when I heard that, I burst out laughing and said, I told you this was gonna happen. It's not funny. You don't make jokes like that. Well, now he's giving me the silent treatment because I made fun of him and I told him I told you so, and he's mad at my son too. And everyone's saying that I should apologize because my husband got his feelings hurt and got embarrassed at work. And it's all just dumb and inappropriate and ridiculous. So was I the bad apple? Listen, initially when I heard this, immediately my thought was like, good apple, for sure. And the more I'm sitting here petting my cat and getting all of her cat hair off of my leggings and thinking about this, thank you for the kisses. Part of me is feeling like I should go crab apple, not because I think that laughing at him was wrong, because like, yeah, you should. If people are gonna make offensive comments, then get held accountable for them. And oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. No, what do you mean you don't know what happened? You were offensive? People didn't like your joke. It's not a joke. If you're being offensive, you're being offensive. It's not funny. But you have an 8-year-old who very blatantly was racist and thought it was so funny and ha 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 ha. You didn't raise him to understand that's wrong. And I understand that there are people who already typed, well, he has 2 parents. Right. You allowed your husband, your partner, first of all, you married someone with that kind of sense of humor to where they clearly feel like those kinds of jokes and comments are okay and acceptable. And you've clearly allowed this kind of behavior around your child to the point where like he's now making these jokes in front of this family where it's being encouraged to blah, blah, blah. Like at some point, I feel like, where's your accountability for just kind of being a bystander and like letting them all do this and like teach your child that's okay? Like this is your kid. I understand that you can't control other adults, and I understand that like all of us have family members who say things that they shouldn't say. Okay, we've all got that uncle. We've all got that aunt. We all know that family member, right? But I think there's a difference between having like a family member or two who doesn't say appropriate things that we kind of shrug off as like, that's cousin Julie. And you kind of like do the side eye with your sibling and it's kind of like, oh my God, did you hear what she said? And then there's not teaching your child, hey, that's what cousin Julie says, but that's not appropriate. Or like talking to your husband in front of your child about, hey, you just made this joke and I didn't like it. I don't think it's right. I don't think we should be teaching our child that. Like I feel like a couple years ago I would have just gone straight good apple. But being in my fun little Auntie Bex era, I see the way that my friends interact with their kids. And I see the way that their partners interact with the kids. And I see how the outside world interacts with these children. And I've seen parents who, when people around them say inappropriate things, just kind of shrug it off. And then later they're so surprised when these toddlers, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds are saying inappropriate things. And then I see people whose kids experience or see other people do or say inappropriate things. And those parents are very quick to, hey, I know blank did this. That's a bad word. We don't say those things. Like, there's a difference in the kind of parenting, right? And if we are wanting to raise a generation of kids who are not acting that way, then we just can't be bystanders in that kind of stuff. Like, it's not a, oh, okay, honey, go to work and say this racist remark and see what that does for you. No, like, have that conversation with your spouse about, like, this is why this is offensive and this is why you don't do that. And this is why we should teach our child to not do that. Like, I don't understand why is that not your go-to? Why do you want to be with a person who thinks it's funny to be racist and offensive? Why do you want your child to grow up thinking that's funny? Like, oh, well, I wanted to punish them, but they told me no, so I guess not. Be a parent. Be the adult. What? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like if we want to raise the next generation to be better, we have to teach them to be better. That doesn't mean just getting peer pressured by your racist aunt and uncles to just keep quiet. I mean, maybe you guys disagree with me. And that is totally okay. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. But I'm going to go crab apple on that one. Not because I think her laughing at her husband was wrong. She should 1000% bring attention to how inappropriate the joke was. And how, of course, people at work didn't like that. Like, no, what? But the way that it was, like, it's all the context for me. Like, the actual question, for me, it feels like a no-brainer, good apple. But when you add the context, that's where I get to crab apple, if that makes sense. And again, some of you guys might disagree with me, and that's totally fine. That's fair. That's your prerogative. That is just my opinion from my perspective of, like, watching my friends parent and their siblings parent and their friends parent and, like, all the things. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for telling my mom she's an unwanted guest? My wife has had a stressful time at work and was looking forward to a vacation at her grandparents' cabin. She brought a few books that she wanted to read, and I brought my fishing rod. My wife didn't have any plans to entertain or anything, but then my dad stopped by to go fishing. Supposed to just be my dad stopping by for the day, but somehow my mom inserted herself, and I was shocked to see her. My wife had no plans to entertain her, and I told my mom that. Then my mom brought stuff for lunch and dinner and tried to engage my wife into making dinner for all of us, and my wife said no. She's relaxing and reading, and if my mom wanted to cook, that's my mom's prerogative. My dad and I get back from fishing, and at the table, my mom just starts to complain that she did all this herself. I looked at my wife, who just took her plate and ate in her room. My mom started to complain about it, and I told my mom, well, you know, you technically weren't invited, and my wife had no expectations to entertain you in my wife's family cabin while my wife is on vacation. Well, my mom got all quiet and just said that she wouldn't have come if she knew that. I told my mom, well, next time take the hint. If you're not invited, don't come. My parents left after dinner, and my mom complained again that my wife should have tried to be a gracious hostess. And I said, well, maybe you should just try not to be an unwanted guest. I don't think there was anything wrong with how I acted. I mean, I was just standing up for my wife. She wanted a vacation, and I wanted to make sure she got one. So, am I the bad apple? I think that I dislike most people here. Not the wife. I honestly, kudos to the wife for prioritizing her private time and her relaxation time and her reading time. I'm gonna tell you, I'll be honest, and I'm saying this very nervously because I found out recently that my mom watches all my bad apples. My mom, I love you. My mom is one of those people that you can't read around. You just can't do it. Because my mom wants to sit there and talk to you. And even if she knows that you're reading, she will still ask you questions. And even if she knows you're working or reading, and there's nothing, it's fine. You're fine, Mom. It's fine. We just know this about you. It's fine. We plan around it. So I'm very proud of the wife for just prioritizing what she wanted to do on her vacation, as she should. You want alone time? Go to your room. Like, she didn't have a meltdown. She didn't whatever. She just went and she said, no, these are my boundaries. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I want. And she went and she ate in her room. Love it. There's a lot of things that I really dislike about how the husband handled things. Because the husband's, oh, well, I stood up for my wife, and I blah, 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 and I did this, and I did that. First of all, if you invited your father, to the cabin, right? And you're like, well, my wife wasn't planning to entertain. Well, you still invited your dad. And I'm assuming that, like, he didn't just show up, right? Like, you said the plan was your dad was going to show up. So I'm assuming you talked to him. So when you talked to him, did you say, hey, wife doesn't want to entertain, so this needs to be low-key, just you and me? Like, did you communicate that there wasn't going to be any entertaining? Did you communicate that this was just a you two kind of thing and that wife had her own plans? Because it doesn't sound like you did. Like, I hear from you, oh, Mom, if you didn't get a direct invite, then you shouldn't have assumed you were invited. That's your mother. That's your mom, okay? Why would she assume that if you're making plans with your dad at this, like, cabin, that she wouldn't be allowed to come? And I know there are going to be some people who are like, because she wasn't invited. You know what? In my family, that wouldn't. Like, my mom would also assume she was invited. And there's nothing wrong with that because we're just a close family and we do stuff together. And that's fine. If my dad called my brother and was like, hey, and this isn't even like a spouse. This is my brother. If my dad called my brother and was like, hey, we're going to a lake house. You want to go? Heck yeah, I'm assuming that I'm invited to that too. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm the fun. You got to bring the fun with you. It is what it is, right, Vixie? Can you even see her, guys? I don't know if you can even see her. Vixie, they can't see you in your little bed. So clearly the husband didn't communicate on the phone, hey, this is a low-key weekend, wife is not going to be entertaining, we're on our own for dinner, blah, 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 she wants to relax, don't bring mom, or even, like, this should have been communicated beforehand, right? And it wasn't. And even when it wasn't, both your parents got there, and you just left your mom at the house with your wife? If you're all like, oh, well, I'm just trying to stick up for my wife, it's her family's cabin, blah, blah, okay, take your mom with you. Take your mom fishing. If she wants to sit and chat, let her sit and chat with you guys while you're fishing. Why? What? You're just leaving her at the house? She's a mom. She's a nurturer. Like, should she have respected wife's boundaries? Absolutely. It also doesn't surprise me that a mom left alone at a lake house is gonna find a way to make herself useful. Oh, what's for dinner? We don't know. Oh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and make dinner. Like, that to me is a very mom thing to do. And again, has she been bothering the wife and all upset and, oh, I'm doing all this by myself? Yes. I'm not saying mom is a saint. I'm not saying she's a good apple. I'm saying that a lot of her actions sound very mom-like to me. And all the I did it by myself. Is she Jewish? That sounds like a lot of Jewish mom guilt. Not that I have any experience with that at all, Mom. No. So, like, I'm kind of teetering between bad apple and crab apple because, actually, no, I'm just going bad apple, and here's why. I don't like how you handled the situation and the way that you lashed out on your mother after she just prepared everyone dinner, even though it wasn't wanted. I understand that. I understand boundaries were crossed. I understand whatever. But, like, no one communicated to her, don't come. She got there, she showed up, and all of a sudden everyone's saying, leave me alone, you're not included. Okay, she makes herself useful, she prepares dinner. And then she's upset because she feels like she was... Again, I'm not saying mom is the good apple. I'm not saying she was in the right here. I'm saying that even though she didn't act appropriately, she was still put in a weird situation a bit because she wasn't told don't come. She wasn't told the context of what's going on this weekend. And you just yell at her and make her feel really, really bad, which, like, yes, she did push boundaries, but no one told her before she got there. You just made her feel like a problem. You left her alone in the house. She's looking for something to do. She didn't know not to come. And now that she's there, what do you want her to sit and look at a wall all day? Like, you should have taken your mother fishing with you. So I am gonna go bad apple. Didn't handle it well beforehand, didn't handle it well during, didn't handle it well after. Yeah, I'm glad that you stood up for your wife, but in reality, like, you kind of created the problem in the first place. So while I'm glad you didn't expect your wife to give up her private time and her vacation time, like, you kind of put her into position to have to stand up for herself and have to prioritize herself, if that makes sense. So you did it. So I'm going bad apple on that one. But I can see people going crab, for sure. I can. And that's okay. We can chat about it. It's fine. Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for not being friendly with my partner's daughters? I'm 42, dating Tim, 59, a widower. He's in banking and I'm a bartender. I know what it looks like. His 2 daughters thought the same thing, but honestly, he's broke and I've got a trust fund, so no, it's not what it looks like. He's broke because his late wife got cancer 3 times. He's ran up 6 credit cards, 2 mortgages on the house, cashed out his retirement, everything and anything to get her treatment that she needed, and then to get treatment enough to see both of their daughters get married. His daughters live 6 hours away. We drove to them for Christmas last year and the year before, and they ignored me, dragged Tim away when he tried to include me, and prevented their husbands from even making small talk with me. First year, Tim chastised them, and they apologized to him, not me, and they just blamed it on the pain of seeing their dad with a woman who isn't mom. Year 2, they did it all again. This year, I told Tim not again. He could go. I mean, I would never ask him to not see his daughters for Christmas, but I'll stay here. Tim didn't love that idea. I mean, going without him means that we can't share the responsibility of driving when his back starts to bother him, and he hates flying, so he'd have to do the drive alone. He also has a 2010 death trap that's starting to fade out anyways, so I leased him a comfy luxury ride from one of my brother's dealerships. He called the girls super excited that he'd be able to come see them more often without having to worry about his back or anything. And they blew up at him, accusing him of spending their mother's life insurance money on a BS house and a BS car, just trying to impress some bimbo bartender. Didn't even offer them a dime at their weddings. He just asked them, what life insurance policy? They had no idea there wasn't one. That's also when it came out about the credit card debt and the second mortgage, and that Tim was looking at foreclosure and bankruptcy until he moved in with me. They hadn't realized that this was my house, that he pays no bills, and that we shared groceries. Well, now the girls want my number, and now they're so sorry and upset that I'm gonna be lonely on Christmas. Now they want to come visit and stay next year, conveniently over summer while we live near the beach. I told Tim absolutely not. Do not give them my phone number. I'd happy to be polite if they came to visit Tim, but we're not going to be friends. If they'd have taken the time to speak to me for 2 seconds, they would have understood. I'm not shy about talking about how I know I've had everything handed to me my whole life. Tim thinks I'm being too unforgiving, that they would have warmed up to me eventually, but knowing how generous I'm being with their father has made them warm up quicker. I maintain that I don't care about now or later. They had their chance to not be catty brats over incorrect assumptions, and that I was taking advantage of him. So I just need to know, am I being the bad apple? I feel like whenever I get these kinds of questions, it's really easy to make a decision when we have the context, but let's be honest with ourselves for a minute, okay? We all know that when we have a loved one who is dating someone new, who we are worried is taking advantage, like, we all get a little protective. I know that when my brother was with some of his ex-girlfriends and I knew that they were taking advantage of them, I was not nice. I 100% stood up for my brother and made my opinion known, let them know that I did not think that this was good or appropriate and that I didn't appreciate the way that my brother was being treated. Because that's what family does, and that's what friends do. Like there's that whole like bit about like the best friend not liking the boyfriend or the husband, like because that when you feel like your loved one is not being taken care of or being taken advantage of, people get protective. People don't like that. Now, if the girls were given the correct information and they were still acting that way, then I would say that they're in the wrong. Absolutely. But they didn't know. And I always say that you don't know what you don't know. And I know there's gonna be people, I can already hear the well, if they just took 2 seconds to talk to her, but they talked to their dad, they talked to their father, they expressed their concerns to their father. Both those years at Christmas. And who didn't correct them? Who didn't correct them? Their dad didn't correct them. I mean, they went how many years thinking that there was a life insurance policy from their mother where they didn't receive anything? They were definitely misled. And I feel like it's common for some parents to not want their children to know about their financial burdens. I think that is definitely a thing. But the issue here is that in this father not wanting to be vulnerable with his daughters, are they married? Is it his wife? His now girlfriend is suffering those consequences. I myself have family members where the entire family is like, hey, we're worried about you. We need to check these documents. We need to have some conversations about the money that they're using. We're worried about you. And that's a grown person. Let me tell you, when my brother was with a girl a year ago that was just downright abusive to him, oh yeah, I inserted myself in that. Absolutely. 100%. Because when you are worried that your loved ones are in danger, whether it's physical danger, mental danger, emotional danger, financial danger from someone causing them harm, you say something about it. You do something about it. So I have a hard time faulting these girls being worried about their older father who they feel might be taken advantage of because they don't have all the information. I feel like most of us would be protective in that kind of situation. So I am almost feeling crabapple, not because I think that this woman is not justified in her anger about how she's been treated, but I think that it's misdirected. Right now it's, well, I don't want to talk to them and I don't want to be around them and I'll be polite, but I don't want anything to do with them. But in reality, the reason that they acted like that is because your partner misled them. They're being protective of their father. You should want them to be that concerned about your father. You should want them to be that concerned about their father's well-being. And honestly, the fact that as soon as they realize the truth, they're like, I want her phone number. I wouldn't be surprised if that's to apologize. I want her phone number. I want to talk to her. I want to have a conversation. Like, to me, that's a green flag. And to realize that his daughters didn't have the information, and to realize that as soon as they get it, they want to have that conversation with you and just, no, they had their chance. They should have talked to me. Well, they talked to their dad, and their dad misled them. That's not their fault. That's your partner's fault. So I'm going crabapple with how misguided and misdirected all of this anger and silent treatment stuff is. I don't think it was the daughter's fault, to be honest. I think it was the partner's, and I'm frustrated that she isn't placing blame where blame needs to be placed. And I'm frustrated that she can't, I understand how frustrated she must feel, but I'm frustrated that she can't understand why the daughters were concerned and just make sure that the partner relayed that information. Well, they didn't talk to me. Well, you're not their mom. You're not even their stepmom. You're not married to their dad. That's his responsibility with his children. And I know they're adults. I know they're grown children. They're probably about your age. I personally feel like that was on the dad, not on you. I don't know if I'm making sense right now. Am I making sense? I just feel like the miscommunication here is making so many different people different kinds of collateral damage. And it's really all to help this one guy's ego. And I don't love that. I don't love that very much. So, crab apple for me. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for stealing money from my autistic son? I, 45 female, have 2 kids. 14 male and 17 female. My son has high functioning ASD, and honestly, most people can't even tell. But it does come out in certain aspects of his relationships, such as thinking about others, compassion, etc., etc. My son also eats a lot of food, like way more than someone of his age. He's not overweight in any way, so the doctors haven't really considered this a problem. Here does come the problem. For years, when we've ordered food, he's neglected to realize that the food we order is for the family, not just him. My husband and I have both spoken to him about this multiple times, and usually he just gives half-hearted apologies. We're working on this with his therapist, among other issues he has. On Friday, my daughter had work after school, so she drove herself there while my son took the bus home. He said he was hungry, so I ordered a pizza, and I told him to save some for his father and his sister. I only took 1 slice. Usually, my daughter doesn't eat much, about 1 or 2 slices, and same thing with my husband. That would have left my son 5 slices all to himself from this large pizza. Well, about 2 hours later, my daughter comes home and sees the pizza box empty and starts bawling. She's usually not one to complain about food and will usually just make her own food at home, but she didn't have time to eat before work today, and during lunch she was making a test, so she hadn't eaten since breakfast. I was furious. And I deducted the money for a new pizza plus a generous tip to the delivery driver from my son's bank account. My son was pissed. My daughter thought it was the right thing to do, especially since this is about the 3rd time this has happened to her. But my son's reasoning is that he doesn't work, so his only sources of income are for his birthday and Christmas. That my daughter should have paid for it because she has a job. My husband and I are both on board with what I did, but no, I'm just kind of nervous. I mean, we had tons of other food in the house. The fridge is stocked. We have snacks, ingredients. My son just refuses to learn how to cook, even when we've offered him cooking classes. He just took the pizza because it was the easy thing to do and it's what he wanted at the time, and he just felt entitled to it. Am I the bad apple? No. I just want to get that out of the way. No, we're good apples here. I'm already calling it good apple all the way. And I can already feel some of the I can hear it. I hear it already. Autism is a spectrum. We know this. This is not a surprise. This is not a new thing. Different people are in different areas of the spectrum. I can't think of the exact word right now because I'm very sleepy. And different tasks and relationships and things are varying difficulty to different people, right? If your son's therapist is saying, hey, we're practicing this skill of thinking about others, this tells me that that is something that he is capable of doing, right? These tasks of thinking about others and sharing and not eating everything, like if this is homework from the therapist, that tells me it's something that he's capable of. So what we're not gonna do is immediately go to the comment section and call mom bad for like holding her son accountable for things that the therapist says that he is capable of doing, right? Cool, on the same page. I think this is a great opportunity to start teaching your son the ideas of responsibility, accountability, that the fact that like you paying for everything that he does and doing extras like ordering pizza when there is other food in the house is a privilege and a gift. And it is not something that he is entitled to. Like, these are things to start drilling into him. And that just like you do nice things for him and get him pizza, you do nice things for the sister and get her pizza. Even though she has a job, her having a job does not mean that her parents can't spoil her with pizza. And you did. And you got a pizza for your family, and everyone was designated a certain amount of slices. And he stole her slices. Does your son understand that stealing is bad? Because that's what he did. You used your money to buy something for your daughter, and he took it. And if that is the analogy that he needs to understand that just because she has a job and also has her own money doesn't mean that he can take things that you buy for her, then use that. And if he's so inclined, maybe even offer him the ability to do extra chores around the house to earn back that money, since he's so concerned. But you know, he wasn't really concerned when it was your money that you had to spend, just when it was his. You know, maybe have that conversation with him too. But as someone who taught 14-year-olds, especially kids who were on the autism spectrum in my classroom. I think these are all really good conversations to have with him. And again, if the therapist is saying these are things that he's capable of and he should be practicing these things and can do these things, yeah, absolutely. He's just being entitled. He's being an entitled 14-year-old kid. So you're doing great, Mama. Proud of you. I'm so sure that your daughter really appreciates that support. I worked from when I was 16 until I graduated college in a restaurant, and those shifts can be something, okay? So I feel the, oh my God, I had such a busy day and I haven't eaten since before school, and now I'm home and there's no food and I just want to cry. I feel that. That brings me back to some not fun times. I know she appreciates you, so I appreciate you for her as well. That's the correct English. So I got 2 crab apples, 1 good apple, 1 bad apple. Did you guys get anything similar to me? Did you get anything different? Definitely let me know down in the comments. And just a reminder, if you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And for your well wishes today, we got 2 options. I think most people can do one or the other. It is National Love Your Red Hair Day, so if you are a ginger, happy to celebrate you. I should call my friend Babs. It's Ginger Day. And if you are not a ginger, that is okay. It is National Donut Day as well. So get you down to whether it's a Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' or Duck Donut, or you got a local donut shop down there. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite donut is. Oh, I love it's the raspberry filled. Oh, so good, so good. Put it in the microwave for like 5-10 seconds. I'm gonna go get one of those. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope to see y'all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.